Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining us for the first time, we want to thank you for watching. If you look at the continent of Africa, the African continent is going through incredible geopolitical shift at the moment. If you consider the events in Gabon, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and more importantly in the country of Niger, that is the reason why some of Niger's partners still don't believe and don't want to accept why a sovereign nation like Niger should charter a new part in its own history and future. As a result of the events in Niger, the regional organization Ecowas lost its credibility across the continent of Africa and around the world. If you look at Niger's event, that's the reason why the geopolitical shift has sent a strong message with regards to Niger's former colonial power. More importantly, you will never ever see meetings like this because they never were in the interest of the African people.
Majesté, Madame et Messieurs les chefs d'État, Messieurs les chefs de gouvernement, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Monsieur le Président de la Commission de l'Union africaine, Monsieur le Président de la Banque mondiale, Monsieur le Commissaire européen au développement, Mesdames et Messieurs.
Now listen, France have the opportunity with summits like this to take advantage of the continent of Africa in a positive way to invest and also transform the regions, especially in West Africa. But France never made such moves. Even before the arrival of the Chinese in terms of foreign direct investment, France had absolute control. A number of European countries, especially the United States of America, were channeling their policy through France in several areas. But the country of France decided to involve in other aspects which were not beneficial or at the detriment of a lot of African nations. So over the years, a lot of African countries started thinking that this relationship is not working. There is nothing being derived from it. However, France had the opportunity also at that time to take a lot of money, over $500 billion based on figures from a number of African countries that were contributing into the French treasury in Paris. This has gone a long way for these African nations to think. With such a one-on-one interaction that France had with African governments, it gave France that chance to take some positive move. But if you look at those countries, especially in the Sahel region, Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, and also Niger at the moment, nothing happened. The leaders of those countries were interacting with France, but there was nothing tangible to be written home about. That is the reason why you could see events such as this one that happened in the country of Niger.
26 juillet 2023, nous, forces de défense et de sécurité, réunis au sein du Conseil national pour la sauvegarde de la patrie, CNSP, avons décidé de mettre fin au régime que vous connaissez. Cela fait suite à la dégradation continue de la situation sécuritaire, la mauvaise gouvernance économique et sociale. Réaffirmons notre attachement au respect de tous les engagements souscrits par le Niger. Nous rassurons la communauté nationale et internationale par rapport au respect de l'intégrité physique et morale des autorités déchues conformément aux principes des droits humains.
When this actually happened in Niger, nobody took the country of Niger seriously. The country knew what they were going through and they wanted to write a new chapter in their own history, to make a strategic choice and choose partners that will see them as equal and to work together in a number of areas. Remember, Niger have never said they're not going to work with anybody, but they really want to have that leverage to make strategic choices that are beneficial for their people and to see how they can bring development to their own country and work with like-minded partners to achieve the same goal that will also bring peace in the region. However, what do you get from Niger's former partners, like from the European Union?
We are moving forward for an autonomous sanctions regime to take measures against the putschists. Work has already started.
Now, if you think that the threat will stop there, then you are mistaken. Even the United States of America, who was a strategic partner for Niger at the time, also went ahead to send messages such as this, considering that the United States has a drone base in the country of Niger in the city of Agadez. Listen to what the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken have to say with regards to this particular event.
The team has been deeply engaged with multiple countries in the region, as well as critical organizations like Ecowas, like the African Union, and we are united in condemning the actions that have taken place in Niger, calling for the immediate release. Our economic and security partnership with Niger, which is significant, hundreds of millions of dollars, depends on the continuation of the democratic governance and constitutional order that has been disrupted by the actions in the last few days. So that assistance, that support, is in clear jeopardy as a result of these actions, which is another reason why they need to be immediately reversed.
Well, as you've heard clearly there with regards to sanctions from the European Union and also from the United States of America Secretary of State to withhold funds. That's absolutely true, because if you depend on a foreign donor for a number of your projects in your country, you would expect such a statement. That's true. But what shaped my perspective here was when ECOWAS was mentioned, then I automatically knew that the coup in Niger will stand as that in Mali and also in Burkina Faso.
A few days after the junta ousted the elected president Mohamed Bazoum and took power, ECOWAS issued an ultimatum. Either step down by Sunday or potentially face military action. Now the bloc says it has a plan.
There is a steely determination by our heads of state and government to put an end to it and to make an example of Niger, to make sure that never again are we going to allow the disruption of the region's move towards democratic consolidation in our region. And ECOWAS is not going to tell the coup plotters when and where we are going to strike.
If you consider ECOWAS, the regional organization at the time, was ill-prepared. I think France, which completely depended on ECOWAS, who supported ECOWAS' effort to intervene, I think it was a grave mistake. Nigeria in particular was not ready. Nigeria was dealing with internal issues at the time, and Nigeria was not able. The forces, if you consider those countries that can contribute a number of troops to go into Niger, was Nigeria. But I think that was a bluff from the Nigerian side, that France could never have imagined that Nigeria was just bluffing. Nigeria was not ready to go into Niger. Niger is a massive country. If you consider the landmass of Niger, the largest country in the Sahel. So that was never going to happen. The Nigerian troops were prepared. They have been battling jihadis for a number of years, and they were battle prepared, or I would say combat ready. But Nigeria, to an extent, or the ECOWAS forces were not at that stage of readiness. There was a huge gap in that area where France could not have seen it. However, if you consider Mali, Burkina Faso, and also Guinea saying that they will contribute and join into this particular issue, then I knew that nothing was going to change with regard to that particular coup. So ECOWAS lost its credibility in that particular event.
It's very difficult to negotiate the stepping down of a junta, and that's going to be the big game here. What does ECOWAS put on the table? They're trying to force these people to step down. Right now, they feel bolstered simply because yesterday, according to the AFP, there were 30,000 people in the Niamey stadium, that we saw youths across the city of Niamey holding roundabouts, saying that they will defend what they see as, the new leadership of the country. The junta also has closed the airspace. So quite clearly, negotiations are not really taking place at this stage. It appears that the junta is not speaking to anyone. They're actually just staying there and bracing for whatever's going to happen. Of course, for ECOWAS, this is a very dangerous game, simply because it's all about credibility. The question is, what do you put on the table to force a junta to step down and offer them security whilst not giving the impression that you're being soft on those who've taken power by force?
Indeed, in threatening this military intervention, ECOWAS has sort of put its hat in the ring of sorts? Is its credibility on the line, and how can it save its credibility if it doesn't do a military intervention?
Well, that's going to be very difficult. The big question is, will they go ahead or not? Obviously, they've said that they would use force. Now, what are they planning? It's unclear. There's been meetings. What we know is that for now, Ecowas has said we will not be giving any details about what we're ready to do. The question is, what are they ready to do at this stage, given that indeed there are some frictions inside the bloc and outside as well. We've seen, for example, Nigeria, who is the main contributor if there is any military action. It's the biggest country in ECOWAS, 215 million people. And of course, they're the ones who will be contributing the most soldiers and the most money to this operation. Well, the Senate in the country has said that they wanted to avoid military action. Now, the constitution of Nigeria stipulates that the president can start a military intervention and has 7 days to have it validated by Senate. So technically, it is possible to go ahead without a green light from the Nigeria Senate. But still, yes, there are tensions, there are questions, and also there are some other actors, such as, for example, Algeria, by the voice of President Tebboune, who's been saying, that this might destabilize the whole region. So there is a lot at stake, but if ECOWAS does not move or does not do anything, well, of course, they're going to look weak. And right now, there is this feeling in some countries, including Niger, for example, that ECOWAS is working for its Western backers. And that, of course, is something that is also to be taken into consideration.
Despite the message coming out from the purchased that they want to charter a new part in their own history and make strategic decisions for themselves and for their own country, Niger, the mainstream media will definitely want you to understand that it was as a result of foreign interference from Russia. It's Russia that told them on how to kick out France, but that's never gonna be the case. This notion of that African nations cannot make a decision of their own is mind-boggling. I really don't understand why a sovereign nation like Niger, like I pointed out, could not make a choice to choose. Each time events like this take place, nobody is supporting that coups should be the way to go, but if a country has made a choice, partners need to respect that or to engage in a proper way. But when analysts start talking about that it was as a result of Russia's going to take advantage, it means you are taking out the Africa's equation, that the African countries don't think properly to make decisions on their own, which is fundamentally wrong.
Leaders in both countries have moved closer to Russia and away from the West. Experts say this week's coup presents a new opportunity for Russia to flex its regional muscles.
If the coup holds, if the putschists manage to survive, that might create this opening for Russia to try and strengthen its cooperation.
That is just part of what concerns the international community.
I am indeed extremely worried that the whole belt south of the Sahara is becoming an extremely problematic area with terrible consequences.
Well, next time the international community should come in and look into the situations going into those countries, for their colonial masters have actually exploited them for many years. When issues like that are happening, let those international partners come in earlier before things get worse. When those countries make their own decision and they want to charter a new part in their history, all of a sudden their partners become very worried. As a result of that, their own interests have been touched within the region. The events in Niger gives us a lesson on how to interact and deal with those countries. It is about time that those nations that are exploiting others, especially France in the regions of the western part of Africa, should be refocusing their strategy. Otherwise, Russia, China, and to an extent European countries will continue to benefit as the United States of America's focus in the region is being displaced with regards to what's happening in Taiwan and also in Israel. The US focus in the region is split at the moment. America needs to focus and engage Africa in a proper way, like the way the Chinese and the Russians and the European Union are working with Africa. However, Africa is looking for strategic partners that should deal with them as equals. We want to thank you for watching. Let us know in the comment section what you think with regards to the event in Niger, how it has shaped Africa and also put France to where it's supposed to be, and that next time the France has this opportunity, it will take advantage. We are looking forward to meeting you in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.